Hi, everyone. Hope you all can hear me. My name is Jane, and welcome to the Adventure Talk series. This is hosted by Hanover Adventure Tours, and we're really happy to have you all join us tonight. Really excited to have Odie. Already saw some of your guys' chats. Really excited to see what can happen. First off, though, before we start, I'd love to explain a little bit about Hanover Adventure Tours and who we are. First off, my name's Jane Trailer. I am representing Hanover Adventure Tours tonight. So what do we do here? So Hanover Adventure Tours, we work towards being the adventure center and hub of the Upper Valley. Where is the Upper Valley? We are right along the Connecticut River. And looking on the Appalachian Trail, we're pretty much right when you go through Hanover, New Hampshire, but we're on the other side and right on the river there. So what do? We have electric bikes. We do a lot of electric bikes rentals and sales. We have over 9 different models to choose from. So many people love to come by and kind of explore the Upper Valley with over 70 different pre-planned routes. It's a whole lot of fun. Other things that we do here is tours. We do e-bike tours as well as rentals. E-bike tours as well as private coach tours. You can taste the Upper Valley by going on a brewery and distillery tour, or learn a little bit about the Vermont traditions and take a Woodstock farmland tour. A whole lot of fun here. One other thing I mentioned was we were right on the Connecticut River. So we have a dock right out back. Many people enjoy kind of hopping out on the Connecticut River, taking a nice swim, but we also have paddle boards, kayaks, canoes, and even tubing. So we try to, be that adventure hub. Even in the winter, we're doing some stuff too. One other thing though, as we know, Appalachian Trail is we do have a hostel. So we have about 28 beds here, and we do support Appalachian Trail hikers. This is something we love to be part of, the community, and we're pretty new. We pretty much came out only last year, so we're new to the community, but it's a lot of fun. People really enjoyed, knowing that there was an adventure center right on the other side. So a whole lot of fun. I'm really excited for what we're doing tonight, though. We love being part of the community, so we have an Adventure Talk series, and that's what we're doing tonight. We usually have these every single Thursday at 6 p.m. We'll talk about different things from arts and crafts to even the Colorado Trail, and tonight we're talking about the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail is close to home for me. I was a thru hiker in 2019, so really happy to be part of that. And tonight we have Odie. I think many people know Odie. If you don't know Odie, he is an amazing trail angel and support to the Appalachian Trail. He runs, he has a yellow bus, you'll see that. And he also creates the Hiker Yearbook, which really captures those memories in every way. So tonight we're gonna have Odie, and I'm about to introduce him, but just wanted to say thank you all for coming tonight. And one other thing to mention is if you look on the lower part of your screen, this is a discussion. This is, an event that we'd love to hear from you guys as well. So looking on the lower part of your screen, you're gonna see some things like the chat. You're more than welcome to put something out there. You can even raise your hand if you have a question throughout the presentation. And then there is a tab for Q&A. So if you throw out a question, Odie will get to it, and I'll be able to type in that question, that answer for you when it happens. So whatever you guys have. Okay, so I am going to bring on Odie now. Give me 1 second. And hi, Odie. I see something. Hold on. Hi.
All right, can you see and hear me?
I can.
Cool. Oh, I'm so glad to be here tonight. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm so excited we could do this. I know we were gonna do it, in person, but I think this is awesome.
Are we live right now?
We are. I think we have.
Oh God, you think our moms are watching?
My mom is.
My mom is. I know my mom. She told me to wink at her. All right. So I got to spend a little time at Hanover Adventure Tours this year. And how many hikers was it that we went on the e-bike ride? I think it was like 11
Yeah,
southbounders too.
yeah, it
So
was.
we rented the e-bikes. I think it was like 11 of us. And then I was like in charge because you had taken me on the tour before, right? So
Yep.
I'm in charge and I had the GPS and my phone was literally at 2% battery. So I'm all like not knowing where I'm going. My phone's going to die any minute now, but I had a great time.
Yeah.
So
You saw that
thanks
swimming
for
hole?
that.
I know you. I don't know if you went to the swimming hole. Yeah.
Yeah, I jumped in. I
Awesome.
remember Frosty jumped in.
Yeah. Frosty, just so anyone knows, he is the owner of Hanover Adventure Tours. An amazing guy.
He is awesome.
Yeah, he is. He is.
I did not think he was going to jump in, but he did.
We followed him. He was the first one. No, you were the first one.
All right, so you want me to go over the history of the Appalachian Trail? I've been studying a lot, so.
I saw your notes. Yes, I do. I am going to get off this video just for a little bit and kind of give you the floor, but really excited to hear what you got to say.
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Jane.
Bye.
All right, so I'm Odie, and what I do is a yearbook for the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Crest Trail. Basically what that is, it's a high school yearbook style thing where hikers that do the entire journey, either the 2,000 miles on the Appalachian Trail or the 2,500 miles on the Pacific Crest Trail, or at least a long section of that, they send me their photos. So the cool thing is about the trail is you get trail names. Twinkle Toes, Aristotle, things like this. And historically, what would happen is when you were done with your hike, you'd go home and your best friend in the world, you only knew him by the name of Twinkle Toes. And it's really hard to find somebody by the name of Twinkle Toes in the real world. So what I did was I put together a photographic record of Appalachian and Pacific Crest Trail hikers that has the trail name, then the real name, and then a contact information. And my goal is to reconnect the hiking community after the trail. I am very honored to be able to be in front of this project. I've been working on it for 7 years now, and 2020 has been tough, but you know, hikers hiked, so I had a great time. There will be a 2020 book. This is 2019, and it goes all the way back to 2014. But yeah, that's me, and I live in a school bus, and I enjoy life. So now that you know who I am, I would like to go over what I've learned about the history of the Appalachian Trail. So it all started on Stratton Mountain. This guy by the name of Benton Mackay, he climbs up Stratton Mountain and he looks south and he looks north and he says, what if we had a trail that stretched the entire Appalachian Mountains? Now, most of you, I can assume, have stood on a mountaintop and looked in one direction or the other, and the farthest we could see is the horizon. This man was looking past the horizon, and he was saying, what if we gave the people a line in the dirt that stretched from Maine all the way to Georgia? This would be a place for recreation. This would be a place for conservancy. See, Ben Mackay, he went to Harvard and he worked on surveying land on the East Coast. So he is well-traveled and well-educated, and he could see that in the 1920s, the encroachment of, you know, bustling society. And he knew the importance of getting out into the woods and communing with nature. And he knew that if we didn't draw a line in the sand, that would lose all of that. That society would push to the point that we wouldn't have protected lands. So he dreamed. He dreamed of a trail. Honestly, he actually only wanted it to go from Mount Washington in New Hampshire all the way down to Georgia. Now, can you imagine the Appalachian Trail ending on Mount Washington? Like, talk about commercialized. Later, it was actually pushed all the way to Maine under Welsh's leadership. But in order to get the idea of the trail and his vision of this utopia in the woods to the world, Benton Mackay wrote an article. It was titled An Appalachian Trail, a Project in Regional Planning. Now, I read this entire thing, and I'm going to tell you, it's quite beautiful, but also wordy. I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to pull it up. All right. And I just want to read this first part. A new approach to the problem of living. The problem of living is at bottom an economic one, and this alone is bad enough, even in a period of so-called normalcy. But living has been considerably complicated of late in various ways, by war, by questions of personal liberty, and by menace of one kind or another. There have been created bitter antagonisms. We are undergoing also the bad combination of high prices and unemployment. This situation is worldwide, the result of a worldwide war. What he's talking about there is World War I. This was 1921. The entire world was just destroyed, basically. You know, that's what people do. So the timing that he presents this vision is a time that he saw that the world needed healing. And the time that he had spent in the woods surveying, he knew people could find this healing in the woods. But he also knew that they could find community. That was the thing that Benton MacKaye spoke of the most, actually, was community. His original dream was a utopia in the woods where you would actually go from one farm town basically to another. And you would stay there and basically do work for stays and learn about the local community, and then you'd go home and you'd work for a while, and then you'd come back and you'd hike from that section to the next. And in doing so, you would get to know the culture of the East Coast, and also, and most importantly, you would get to understand the community. So he presented this letter. It's a very long letter. It's gorgeously written, though. Oh my God. He talks about the undeveloped power, and this was the power of our time. So basically, you know, you have a little bit of free time, but what could you accomplish if you were to focus 10% of your free time into a public works? What if all of America got together and said, we're going to give 10% of our time to creating something that is going to be a gift to future generations? He saw that the trail could not be bought. It had to be given. He knew that it was going to take millions of hours of volunteer trail work to pull off something as grand as this. So even in the beginning, even that first letter, he brought up the fact this is going to take the heart of a volunteer community. If we want it, we have to earn it. We can't buy it. So he speaks about the Appalachian Trail skyline and the strategic camping and basically the shelters. We're all familiar with the shelters. Now this article goes on. This is what I'm showing you here is only half of the article, but it was presented in 1921. So almost immediately people were like, dude, we want to do this. A couple guys got really involved. Bear Mountain, New York is where the first section of trail was actually started to work on. And there was a long section from Bear Mountain all the way to Arden, New York that was completed in 1923. This was only 2 years after Benton MacKaye had presented his article. So 2 years later, they finished this long section of trail. Benton MacKaye, who stood on Stratton Mountain and looked beyond the horizon, could see now that there was a section. And in all honesty, it's a very short section. It's from New York to New York. It's not very far, but it was real. Benton MacKaye said in 1923, we should have a conference. I'm calling for a Appalachian Trail conference to be held in Washington, D.C. I believe it was in March of, I could be wrong. Either way, it was definitely in 1925. This was 4 years after the presentation of the dream. In 1925, a lot of people got together. They looked at his dream. They looked at his completed section and they said, yes, we should have a footpath in the woods, but we should go beyond Mount Washington. We should go to Maine. This trail should be from Maine to Georgia. It should be set aside and protected and given to future generations, and we can do this. So they formed the ATC. At the time, it was called the Appalachian Trail Conference. Makes sense. It was formed out of a conference. To be a member of the ATC originally, you had to have a college degree. They truly wanted, you know, only the top notch, only the best, but that failed quickly when they realized that the trail was bigger than any college degree. Today, anyone could be a member, and I hope you guys are, but we'll get to some more of that later. 1925, ATC's formed, right? Got a bunch of people. They're working on the trail. They're doing sections here. They're doing sections there. They started the process of mapping, but not really getting into it a lot. It was in 1932, though, that Myron Avery, he came along. Now, Myron Avery's a lawyer. Benton MacKaye was the dreamer and the presenter, and he had the vision for sure. But he probably didn't have the authority. That's one thing they'll never give an artist, is authority. I'm an artist, don't give me no authority. But Myron Avery, now he had some authority and some pull in Washington, D.C. So he goes into D.C. and he says, guys, we're working on the Appalachian Trail. We have the Appalachian Trail Conference. We have some completed sections of the trail, and we have this vision of this utopia in the wood that's going to go from Maine all the way down to Georgia. But what we need is a little help. Now, obviously, the help came easy in the national parklands, the national states, things like that. We already kind of had the maintainers set up, and those sections of trail were not easy, but they were defined very quickly. At the time, the government had created the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC. So Myron Avery says, we need some CCC guys. They need to help us build the trail. The government's like, sounds like a great idea. Put them to work. So a bunch of young guys get together, and they're getting paid by the government to work on the stretches of the Appalachian Trail. Myron Avery was the first person to actually complete the entire trail. He didn't do it in a through hike. They say he did it in about 2 years, but either way, he actually did walk or survey the entire trail and would have been the first person to walk it end to end. Now, originally the trail in the early 30s went straight up mountains. It cut straight across. It was a direct route in so many terms. Come to find out that direct routes up mountains are really bad for erosion. So since then, we've done a lot of work on the trail to add switchbacks. A lot of people think switchbacks, they're the things that go left and right up the mountain and the longest point to get to the summit. A lot of people think that we put those in because it makes hiking easier as far as like ascending the mountain, which it does, but that's not at all the reason. The reason we put it in, because we learned that when we take a trail and we shoot it straight up the mountain, erosion happens and we break the mountain, and we don't want to break the mountain because we're literally putting in the trail to protect the mountain. So therefore we put the switchbacks. So don't cut switchbacks. Sorry, that was a squirrel, just a pet peeve of mine. Don't cut switchbacks. CCC is working hard on the trail. Myron Avery working hard on the trail. Got a lot of people in DC. They see what's happening. They like it. They're supportive. 1937 in Maine, trail was completed. We had a footpath that went all the way from Maine to Georgia. It was ours. We had a line in the dirt, dreamed by Benton MacKaye. It was ours, but that's all we had. Literally a line in the dirt. I mean, sure, it was the Appalachian Trail. Sure, the government recognized it, but it wasn't protected. It wasn't formally recognized. It was just complete. We had it. We dreamed about it. It took 16 years of work. It took organization like you cannot believe. It took the CCC. It took Myron Avery. It took Benton MacKaye. It took Welsh. It took all these guys working their butts off. And in 1937, it was done. First lesson, the trail is never done. Never. That's the thing. We're going to have trail maintainers forever. Hopefully, that's the only way we're going to have a trail forever. So 1937, the trail was completed, but that word's kind of funny and not well used in this situation. All right, 30s was rough. So the trail's completed in 37. 1938, a hurricane comes in, slams the New England section of trail. It had taken 16 years to get from the dream to the completion, and literally one storm blows in a 24-hour period and crushes a long section of trail in New England. I mean, just like crushes it. And this is back in the day where, you know, trail clubs were around, but they weren't formed and they weren't as strong as we are today, and they didn't have cell phones and things like that. So fixing the fact that a hurricane had just hit the trail 1 year after the trail was completed, kind of a big deal. 1941, Pearl Harbor was bombed. So now America has to go to war. We have to. It's all hands on deck. People were joining left and right. People were getting pulled in by the draft. Myron Avery himself actually had to go. The trail started coming out of war. And now the trail existed, but was going back into war. This is a tough time. We lost a lot of people. The whole world lost a lot of people. And in all honesty, I don't really blame the guys for not focusing so much on the Appalachian Trail at the time. It's really hard to find any history at all from that time. But what we do know is we had a trail, and we kept the trail. We kept our line in the dirt, and we kept it just long enough. In 1948, Earl Shaffer, coming back from World War II, says, I want to hike the trail from one end to the other. He says, I'm going to walk off the war. It's kind of ironic to me that Benton MacKaye said, we need the trail because of war. We need a place for people to go. We need to have that community. We need to have that space set aside. And he created it. And the first long distance hiker that comes literally walks out of war and says, I need a place to go. I need community. I need the outdoors. And it was there. That's huge. I'm a veteran myself. Let me tell you, that's huge. So Earl Shaffer stands on the trail. He decides he's going to walk from one end to the other. And in all honesty, he didn't. He is the first registered thru hiker, yes. But, see, they were blowing up the tops of the mountains at the time because they were putting in the Blue Ridge Parkway. And admittedly so, in Earl Shaffer's own book, he took a ride from a ranger around that section of trail. And also he didn't start at Mount Oglethorpe. Mount Oglethorpe was the original start, not Springer Mountain, but he didn't really actually start at Mount Oglethorpe. He started a little north of there, and he also skipped that long section. But in his defense, they were literally blowing up the tops of the mountains, and he just came back from war. So, sure, you should probably jump that section. However, he did it. He was the first thru hiker. He had completed the Appalachian Trail and registered with the ATC as a thru hiker. Now, we could say that Benton MacKaye would technically be the first thru hiker because we consider a thru hiker to be anyone that completes the trail in general. But we could also say that there was a Boy Scouts camp group that said that they did it, kind of, sort of. They said they did the entire trail before the trail was completed, I believe in like 33 or something. But anyway, we don't really know that. We do know that Earl Shaffer was the first person to register through hike the trail. Now, that part that he skipped, let's talk about that for a little while. This was 1948. They're blowing up the mountains, right? Why are they blowing up the mountains? This is why Benton MacKaye, the dreamer, and Myron Avery, the doer, the one that got the trail done, this is why they hated each other. Benton MacKaye said, we're going to put a line in the dirt, we're going to protect it. Myron Avery took over and he got it done. And then the Blue Ridge Parkway people came to the ATC and they said, hey, we need to blow up the mountain and put a road through, and you need to move your trail. And of course, Benton MacKaye was like, no, are you kidding me? Like, that's why we have this line in the dirt. This is why we're here. If you want to fight, you're going to get a fight. And Myron Avery said, how much money will you give us to move the trail? So the trail was moved. When you come into Atkins, Virginia, you take a hard left, basically, and you end up in, oh shoot, now I can't think of the name. Angel's Rest Hostel is there. No, not Waynesboro. It comes in. Oh my God, doesn't even matter. And then it comes back to the Virginia Triple Crown area, the McAfee Knob, things like. Oh, by the way, this is a McAfee Knob shirt. Squirrel. I bought this shirt. My mom actually bought this shirt, but it's to support a bridge being built over at the McAfee Knob area that's going to protect people. So the trail was kind of cut around and then back to McAfee Knob from Atkins. And that section trail is now the Blue Ridge Parkway. And that's one of the major contributing factors to the fact that Benton MacKaye and Myron Avery hated each other. But hey, we still had a trail, and it was a continuous footpath, and we made it. And that's why the mountains were being exploited in 1948. And that's why Earl Shaffer, being the first through hiker, technically, missed a little bit of trail. Okay, so Myron Avery served on the ATC until his death in 1952. The first northbounder was Earl Shaffer. The first southbounder was Chester. And I'm going to get this name weird, but it's Dzingi Lewinsky. I'm not totally sure, but that's the first southbounder. And then they say the first solo female would have been Peace Pilgrim. Now, Peace Pilgrim, she probably would not have been the first female through hiker. There could have possibly been a wife and husband team, as well as others, but either way, Peace Pilgrim would have been the first reported in the same way that Earl Shaffer would have been. So Peace Pilgrim was our first female. We had a line in the dirt. People were starting to hike it. People were starting to recognize that the trail clubs are starting to gain popularity, and lots of trail work was being done. We were rerouting the straight lines up the mountains and putting in switchbacks, and also adding land like you wouldn't believe, like the Grayson Highlands and the Saddlebacks up in Maine. There were several parts of the trail that are there today that were not there originally. It was more of a direct route, and now it's more of a exploration of the Appalachian Trail mountains. That's all we had. We had a line in the dirt. That's it. So Appalachian Trail Conservancy looks at the government and says, hey, we want you guys to recognize us as a national trail. We want to be a national treasure, and we want to be protected. We want to conserve this land, and we need you to officially recognize us. How cool is that? From a dream on top of Stratton Mountain to actual recognition from Congress. 1968. It was the National Trail System Act. I have that. Let's see, let me pull it up. National Trail System Act, go into screen share, boom. All right, now this is pretty complicated stuff because Congress wrote it, but basically this is the government setting aside the fact that that we do have a national system of trails. It started with the National Scenic, National Recreation, and then the National Side Trails. And when this all happened, the ATC is basically working with the government, and they're like, hey, recognize us as a national scenic trail. And also, by the way, we want you to recognize the Pacific Crest Trail. How big is that? So at first, the guy has a dream of a trail to go beyond the horizon. Then we have a dream of a line in the dirt. Now we have a dream to actually protect this land, but also not even just this land. We want you to look at all the way on the other side of the country, and we want you to protect the Pacific Crest Trail as well. So it gets passed. Awesome. We are now national trails. They recommended in this act, and it goes down for a ways, but they recommended that they study, I believe, 48 other trails. And in doing so, they reconvened on the National Trail System Act in 1978, and they said, okay, not only should we have the National Scenic and the National Recreation and, of course, the side trails, but we should also have the National Historic Trails. Now, this would have been things like the Trail of Tears, different places in your national parks, things like that. It was the Appalachian Trail Conservancy conference at the time that did this work with the government that said, hey, these trails are important enough to the people that we want you to officially recognize them, and we want you to officially protect them. And not only just the line in the dirt, we want a 1,000-foot corridor, 500 feet either side of the trail. We want to protect a 1,000-foot corridor that stretches through all of these mountains. And in order to do so, we're going to need to acquire some land. We need to own the private sections of the Appalachian Trail. They didn't have to so much worry about the trail that went through the national parks and the state parks, things like that. But a lot of the trail went through privately owned land. And in the National Trail System Act, they finally were getting the funds together to acquire the land and officially protect the corridor. So now we'd grown from a line in the dirt to a 1,000-foot corridor to actual protected land. A lot of work happened from this, and you can only imagine trying to work with the government, trying to work with private people that own the land, trying to work with private corporations. I mean, this was a nightmare, but it was done. And in getting it done, we now know that this trail belongs to the people and will forever belong to the people. So long as, and this is the funny part, so long as the people are the ones that do the work to maintain and protect the trail. This is a government understanding that the people will volunteer their time in order to keep the Appalachian Trail. So that's important. If you're not a volunteer, we need you. Get involved. So National Recreation, National Scenic, National Historic, and then the side trails. So I highly recommend you guys look up that. It's called the National Trail System Act. It was started in 1968 and then of course revised in 1978. The National Park Service was the ones that basically had the control of the trail at the time. A lot of land acquisition was happening, the trail was becoming a thing, and the National Park Service was involved in all of the overseeing and maintenance of the trail. They looked at the Appalachian Trail Conference and they said, you guys should officially take responsibility for the Appalachian Trail and the Appalachian Trail corridor that has been created. Huge deal. Officially, the ATC was given the responsibility to maintain and protect our line in the dirt. This was in 1984. Huge day. A lot of work was still being done on trying to acquire and protect some of the private lands. And in all honesty, that work wasn't really completed until in 1998 when, because it takes money, of course. So in 1998, Congress finally says, okay, we're going to officially give you the money that you need for the purpose that you need it for in order to acquire the land, in order to officially protect the land. And when they did this, President Bill Clinton came out to the trail and actually did some trail work. How cool is that? Like, the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the world, has done trail work on the Appalachian Trail. And let me tell you, when you're on your knees moving rocks, it doesn't matter who you are. Even if you're the President of the United States, this trail has put you on your knees, and it'll do that to anyone. But that's cool. So we actually had a president come out and do some trail work. So if you guys want to be presidential, get involved. That was in, let's see, 1998 that we finally got the funds to complete it. Now, in 2005, the Appalachian Trail Conference gets together and they say, we're a conference. We always have been a conference because we convened in 1925, and here it is 80 years later. We now have presented the dream of having a footpath. We now have created that footpath. We now have protected that footpath. We have extended it to other trails, the Pacific Crest Trail, well, there's a lot of them, National Scenic Trails. We would like to officially change our name to the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. We want to add the word Conservancy to our name. There's a lot in a name. So in 2005, the Appalachian Trail Conference officially became the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. That's their job. That's what they do. They conserve what is a visionary dream given to the people, maintained by the people. And they are the organization that stands in the middle and keeps it. They organize over 1 million hours of volunteer work. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that it takes that much? I know 2020 has been rough as far as getting out and doing trail work, but I do know that there was a lot of trail work done, so that's great. Well, the ATC is the one that oversees all of that. And so now they're known as the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. Obviously, they didn't have to change a lot because everyone just called them the ATC anyway, but that's important. They went from Conservancy Conference to Conservancy. I hiked the trail in 2013. Did you know the last section of trail was not formally acquired and protected until 2014? I didn't hike a complete trail. It went from 2000, in 2014 that finally and officially the trail was basically, the land was acquired, the land was formally protected, all of these things. It didn't really even happen until 2014. So let me ask you, was the trail completed in 2014? Or did we learn our lesson that the trail is never completed? Every year, something happens. Every year, we get a little closer to that dream, but every year in the spring, we have to start over. The trees fall, we clear the path. The mountains erode, we do it better. The impact becomes greater, we manage stronger. But every year there's something that needs to be done. The history of the Appalachian Trail is going to go on forever. And let me tell you, I just told you a lot, but I only told you about 99 years of history. That's it, 99 years. And if you think about the fact that we want the trail to go on forever, 99 years is not a lot of experience in order to keep this footpath in the woods. So I really hope that you guys can bring up the conversation of history and hold some pride to that, because we need to really know our history, because we only have 99 years of it and we want to last forever. So that's it. That's it. The history of the Appalachian Trail is just a line in the dirt. It's a very simple thing, put together by millions and millions of hours of volunteer work, communication between the government and the Appalachian Trail Conference and Conservancy. And of course, the trail clubs. There's 31 trail clubs. So I do want to kind of talk about the 4 main things that I think that everyone should be a member of really quickly. That's my basic history speech. But if I could first go to the Appalachian Trail screen share. There. All right. So ATC, not merely a trail. I want everybody to be an ATC member, because here's the thing. If you're not an ATC member, you don't have a voice. The ATC works for us. We own the trail, but the ATC puts in hours and work like you wouldn't believe. Their hearts are in it. I know these people. They are good people. They love the trail. Their job is to maintain and protect the trail and the corridor that we've created over the years. So please go to AppalachianTrail.org and become a member. That's simple. Okay. Then we have the trail clubs. So I said 4, but so the trail clubs, there's 31 trail clubs. The trail clubs go from, you can see here, goes from Georgia all the way to Maine. Wherever one trail club ends, the next one begins, right? So we don't have even a second of uncontrolled land. If one trail club maintains this section, the next trail club maintains the following section. There are 31 trail clubs. You need to look at this map, decide where you are on the map, and then become a member of any trail club. So then we have the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association. I'm a proud member of the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association. It only costs $10 per year. This is a good thing to be. The Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association are recognizing 2020 through hikers this year. So if you completed a long distance through hike on the trail this year, please register with ALDA and get your patch and your certificate, but also become a member. It's $10. I highly, highly recommend ALDA. Everyone should be a member. Let's get that done. I hope membership goes up by 1,000-fold because of this. And then the final one, and this is one of my favorites, Appalachian Trail Museum. Okay, so these guys, they're such nerds, but you want your museum guys to be nerds. Even the plants outside of the museum were like put in place for like historical. These are the plants that you'll find naturally along the Appalachian Trail. And then you go inside, there's a shelter inside the museum that Earl Shaffer himself built. Like, freaking cool. They have one shoe from Grandma Gaywood. We all know her as the first lightweight backpacker. She hiked with a shower curtain. They only have one of her shoes, and I wonder if because she just hopped, but anyway. And then, of course, they have the library upstairs and all of that. So I recommend everyone join at the very least at the hiker rate. If anybody would like to join at the platinum benefactor, the $100,000 level, just, tell them I sent you. But please be a member of the Appalachian Trail Museum. I love them very much. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I love the history. I think it's very important. I love involvement, and I want to encourage everyone to get involved, because we only have 99 years of experience, and we're looking to preserve and conserve this thing forever. We want our children's great-grandchildren to be able to hike the Appalachian Trail and experience what we've experienced and have what we have, because it truly is that important to have that space, to have that place to go, and to have that line in the dirt. We don't have much, and it's going to take a lot of work to keep it. So join those top 4, the ATC, Appalachian Trail Clubs, Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association, and the Appalachian Trail Museum, and be good to each other. So that's all I got. And let's see if Jane wants to come back on and say hi. I love you guys. Hikers hike.
Hey, Odie. That was a great presentation, honestly. I think learning so much about what it really takes for the Appalachian Trail to be what it is. I think we don't really know much of the history, and I think you explained it so well, and just giving us the information needed to be part of the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, and also really if you want to volunteer. I think that's something that even me being a hiker, I was like, I want to volunteer so badly. I want to put a blaze on the tree. I want to be part of that. And I just, to know exactly where to go, where to be part of it. There's so many different groups, and I mean, clubs along the trail. I think
my good friend Mo, who's a maintainer, one of his favorite things to do is hike every year with paint, and then he lets through hikers blaze a tree.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, he was super involved in the relocation of the trail up Bear Mountain, Mountain, New York.
Yeah,
which I found out was one of the very first original sections of the trail. So that's cool.
I didn't know that. Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. I see a thing here. You can join the AMC instead. I don't know the AMC. Do you know the AMC?
AMC is a trail club.
Oh, okay. Appalachian Mountain Club.
Yep.
Got it.
Some people like to say Appalachian Money Club, but that's.
Someone just said that. Oh, that's great. I mean, and also just so you guys know, if you have any questions, like just to kind of, I know it's just kind of Odie and myself kind of on the visual aspect of it, but there is a Q&A right at the bottom there that you're more than welcome to ask any questions. You know, Odie has so many answers for you as well. Just because
I know nothing. Okay, Calamity Jane, we met at the NOC last year. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's right. You did your long section last year, and then
I did.
Finish up this year.
Captain Sweatpants, hey. Yeah, so my trail name is Calamity Jane, so I did hike the trail. I had to separate it though, and even Odie and I hiked a little bit this year, so it was a whole lot of fun. So many questions, and got up to Katahdin.
Thanks everyone for saying I did good. I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's awesome. So Odie, would you hike the whole trail again?
Oh God, yes. Except for actually I want to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. And I've done 600 miles of the PCT, but twice. The first time there was like forest fire and it was really just like, oh, my eyes were burning. And the second time it was crystal clear. So I did the same 600 miles, but it was completely different. Oh, I want that trail. I want it so bad. Really? Ironically, with the Hiker Yearbook, I don't have time to do a long distance hike. It's weird.
You need like Wi-Fi over your head, and then you're good.
I need a personal assistant.
Yes, you do. Why don't you talk a little bit about the Hiker Yearbook overall, though? Just because it is something that maybe many people know of, but if you want to just explain a little more, and it looks like there is a question as well on what the deadline is for the AT Yearbook submissions as well.
The deadline for submissions is January 15th, and that's not even real. So I'd say January 30th probably, but as of right now, it's January 15th. Yeah, I had an apartment fire, so the office that I had for the yearbook is gone, and I kind of had to do a 100% start over and rebuild, which put the Hiker Yearbook project a little bit behind schedule, but that's fine. But I would like to say what the yearbook is and what I do, because so basically I've done this for 7 years, and there's not a single ad or anything like that. It is 100% hikers and hiker trail names. I've never taken a paid ad, and I've never accepted a sponsorship. And the reason that I've kept it that pure is because I see this project as something that's going to go way beyond me. in the same way that the trail went beyond Benton Mackay. And so that day is going to come. That day is going to come where I have to step away, and the project itself of reconnecting hikers on the trail is going to continue. So in order to see that process be a smooth transition, I want to keep it pure. So this does nothing except for put pictures of hikers in trail name, real name, email, and then of course I put summit photos in the back. But it's not so much about through hiking. I put hiker family album because it is about the family that's on the trail every year, the community that Benton Mackay spoke of. That's what's important to me, so that's what I do. Jane, you're gone.
I'm right here.
All right, let's see.
There's a call.
Buster here, Novo 19.
So looks like, how can we support the Hiker Yearbook as well for current efforts? And Odie, you know that there is donations, but just so you all know, I will be sending out an email right after this thanking you all, and there will be a link there that you can donate if you'd like. Yeah,
I do appreciate the financial donations and things, of course. And main thing that has been great is I'm fine. Like, everything's good. Every time I've had a need, the trail provides. So, and I designed this office to be mobile. So it's a tough year for me, but also it's been a tough year for everyone because this is 2020. So I am fine. The donations that you've asked for me, I really appreciate that. And that's going to be a huge help with different things that I have going on. But the main thing that I truly need from the current class of hikers is just communication and understanding. Hopefully I'll check your emails. Dear God, check your emails. Because if I send you an email, more than likely I'm verifying your trail name or something, and it's important. But my job for the next 2 months is to actually email back and forth with about 600 hikers. So I'm really excited about that, and because usually it's 1,800, so that's kind of nice. But main thing I need is just the community to be understanding and patient that the books are going to be a little late this year, and you know, we're in this together. So together but separate.
Yeah, definitely. I see a question here as well, asking a little bit about the hostels and some of the updates with that. And I am curious, Odie, do you know if there's an actual site that specifically says what's open? And I think that is the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. But
yeah, I would actually move people over towards ALDA, the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association, on that one. They're keeping a detailed list. We did lose a lot of hostels this year. The truth of the matter is hostels never really make money, and you know, to have a year where your attendance was down dramatically, you know, it was inevitable that we were going to lose a few, and we did. And I really hope that the community comes together for those people to keep them, you know, motivated, because given all you can give to the community, you're still part of the community. It's still in you. A lot of the hostels did stay open and will open for the 2021 hikers. Check your guidebooks, your AWOL companion, your gut hooks, things like that. And you'll find information stays very accurate along the through hike. So for future through hikers, I wouldn't worry so much. Just walk, and the trail will provide.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And just for us, we're Hanover Adventure Tours and Hostel. So I know we'll be open. We were open through COVID, and we do connect with the hostels close to us, like the Notch and Rattle River. And so I know that we're all going to be open. We're still here, and we're here to be there for you guys in any way that we can. I see here how many through hikers were on the AT this year?
Okay, so my numbers, everyone wants to know numbers. And here's the thing. Numbers are hard to get because the ATC did stop. They stopped taking numbers. The Kennebec Ferry, however, did not. And the Kennebec Ferry says that they received or ferried over 700 through hikers. I right now have about 500 uploads in the yearbook, and of course not everyone that hikes the trail uploads a picture. Most hostels are saying that they saw about a 60% decrease in the numbers along the way, and I would say that usually we say that there's around 3,000 people that are attempting a long distance hike on the AT, and I'm comfortable at putting that number at about 600 to 700 this year, which was great, which was exactly what needed to happen. Mm-hmm. So thanks for the ATC keeping us all safe, and thanks for the ones that stayed on trail to do so in as respectable a manner as possible.
Yeah. I see here as well, for those who have not hiked any of the trail, what is a typical day hike? How many miles is typical, rest areas, etc.?
Okay, on your first hike, most can generally go do an 8-mile day. Now you have to think when you're doing a day hike that your trail ends at the parking lot. So if you're climbing a mountain and that mountain is 3 miles away, then that's a 6-mile day because you're not done until you get back. So between 6 and 8 miles would be a big day, I would say, for someone just starting a section. You also want to think about water. You want to have about at least, I usually say 1 liter for every 2 miles, but that's kind of excessive, honestly. But I'm a big fan of the drink your water thing. So come prepared, you know, you don't want to come over prepared. You're not thinking mass casualty, like, oh God, if you know, a helicopter crashes, my first aid kit is ready. You want to think, I need 2 or 3 Band-Aids, I need some Tylenol, I need just some cream of some kind, you know, like whatever, but keep it simple because every ounce counts. So ounces equal pounds and pounds equal pain. So when you think about hiking, you want to keep your weight down because water's heavy and you definitely want to carry water. Food is important, keep your calories up. Your average person uses 2,000 calories a day, but if you're going to go on a through hike or a long distance hike for a day, then I recommend you think about how you're going to get 3,000 calories that day.
Yeah.
And pre-hydrate.
Yeah. And I definitely had some trail legs for sure, but I have lost them a little bit. So I got back into hiking, and even knowing that the winter is coming, it's definitely slowed me down. But sometimes, like even like last weekend, I did like a 4-mile day, and I was really happy, and like it felt good. So I think the next time I hike, I'm gonna do like a 6 to 8. But I definitely like worked my way up just to, you know, take my time. Cool.
All right, any more questions?
Yeah, here we go. So do you have any
right.
idea when the Trail Angel community began to build up or how it began?
Of course, I can only imagine of how it actually started, but I will tell you the story of Trail Angel Mary. And I think that her story could probably apply to the story of the Trail Angels. So Trail Angel Mary showed up in Duncannon, Pennsylvania, unexpectedly homeless, and she had to go live at the camp in town. So she got in town, she got a job, and she goes and she's living at the camp out of a tent. And hikers back then would stay at the camp. And she'd say, who are you? And why are y'all, what, you walked here from Georgia? What's wrong with you? So she noticed that they were coming through every day. And she said, well, if they're walking all the way from Georgia, they need bananas. So on her way home from work, she went by the grocery store and she bought a bunch of bananas. And then she made it a thing to where she was giving out bananas to all the hikers that came into the camp. And then she figured out where the trail was, and she would go up there and she would leave water at the trailhead so that the hikers could have water. This went on for like a year. The 2 seasons in of her doing this for hikers, she got an apartment and things like that, saved her money. But the 2 years of homelessness where she supported hikers, it was at the end of that a hiker looked at her and said, you're a trail angel. And she said, what's a trail angel? And she'd been doing this for 2 years. She'd been naturally just giving of herself and her time to the people that were hiking through, because I think you feel that they are on a spiritual journey, and you feel that if you could support them, then in some way you're kind of tithing of yourself. And it's just a spiritual thing that's just naturally inside of us to help people that are on a journey. So she became a trail angel before knowing what a trail angel was. I think people just naturally became a trail angel, and then eventually we named it. Eventually we call it a thing, but in all honesty, being a trail angel is just being yourself and giving of yourself and time.
Yeah, and I mean, you even think about Grandma Gaywood and Earl Shaffer, like a lot of the trail, like 99% of the trail's already, it's changed overall, but most of it went through private land. So I know, hearing stories, Grandma Gaywood would, you know, ask for water and sleep on their porch. Right?
Eggs.
I was like, hey.
Ask for water and eggs.
So I
There's
think
still a free place for hikers to stay near Glen Cliff, New York, the Sugar Shack, because Grandma Gatewood came through and she said, I would like some eggs and some water and a place to sleep tonight. And they said, okay, well, you can sleep on the floor of our Sugar Shack. And they were so taken by her that the original owner of the land, it's the son now, he put a sign out and he said, any hikers that want to sleep on the floor of the Sugar Shack, come on. And that's still going today. It's now under the ownership and management of his son, but still to this day, you can walk to that Sugar Shack and sleep on the floor. And that's all thanks to Grandma Gatewood.
that's amazing. That really is. Let's see. Well, is that number similar to the number that went up Katahdin? So
Odd numbers I'm seeing around 400, 500.
yeah, I was like 260 or something.
Yeah.
And that was in October. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know about southbounder numbers. Numbers are going to be very tough this year.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, hikers hiked, and that'll be shown in the history. The historical record will show. You just have to check alternate. You'll have to check the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association for that history, but it'll be there. And I'm pretty sure the AT Museum as well will also record that history. Of course, the Hiker Yearbook will be in all these places.
Yes, it will.
I hope the Hiker Yearbook will still be in the ATC building this year.
It will.
Can y'all hear all the sirens? I'm in Harlem, New York.
I love the
All right.
background. Are you worried about erosion in 2021 with the numbers expected? Because it's first off, 2021.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen?
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. It's going to be overcrowded. I actually don't think it's going to be overcrowded, but also over the last 7 years, it has been overcrowded coming out of Georgia. And here's the thing about the trail is that it's self-correcting. There's only so many people that can comfortably be on the trail. Every year, year after year, except for in 2020, too many people came to Georgia. And very quickly, several people got off the trail. That's just the way it is. But by the time the 80 miles in Georgia, I'd say the 3,000 that start, those numbers are probably cut in half. And I think that the reason is it's not so much the fact that half those people could not have completed a thru hike. It's the fact that the trail was overcrowded. There was no shelter space. The privies were overtaken. There's just too many people on trail, and they came out to commune with nature. And all of these reasons, the trail self-corrected, and going into North Carolina, Tennessee, and north of there, the numbers dramatically dropped to a sustainable level. And I just kind of feel like the trail will be self-sustaining in that way. So in saying that, Georgia will always be very hard hit. And I think we should definitely follow the ATC's leadership in promoting flip-flops. And that's where you can start from alternative areas. And the whole reason is to protect Georgia, honestly, because too many people start from Georgia. Yeah. So if you were to do a flip-flop and start from a different section of trail, you would be lessening the impact there. And that would be greatly appreciated, because I think the trail can handle a lot more hikers than it gets every year if everyone spread out to different starting points.
Yeah. Where is the starting point?
There is no starting point.
Maine.
So it goes from Maine to Georgia. There's no starting and no exit.
Yeah. I see something here about Bob Peoples, and I think we should recognize him a bit. I know he's amazing. I met him, but I've seen.
Did you? He's my hero.
I did. We made a berry pie together. We celebrated 4th of July together.
Oh,
it was amazing. Yeah.
Bob Peoples is famous for being one of the most well-known trail maintainers on the trail. He's a member of the Tennessee Eastman Hiking Club, which is one of our 31 trail clubs that we just went over. I would say he's a leader, obviously, there. And he has done so much trail work for so long that they have Bob Peoples jokes. You know, they say that Bob Peoples gives his boots blisters. And let's see, when Bob Peoples stays at a shelter, the mice bring him food. Bob Peoples stared at the sun and the sun looked away. Oh, actually, though, Bob Peoples, while we're on this, so Bob Peoples, one time, he was doing trail work, and they were, 7 or 8 miles from the nearest road. And he reaches down, he's moving, boulders the size of cars, and he reaches down to move this boulder, and he was bitten by a rattlesnake. And, unfortunately, they're 7 miles out. There's not much they can do. So after hours of just suffering, the snake finally died.
Oh my gosh. I heard you. I'm in this one.
All through hiked in one day. Yep. All hail Kinkora. Kinkora means brotherly love. That's his hostel. Brotherly love.
In Tennessee, right? Yeah.
Whoa, don't forget, Alda Gathering is held over Columbus Day weekend. All hikers, lovers of the trail, welcome. Look on the Alda website. Hey, that's really cool. But I thought that it wasn't being, that's, okay, let's look into this. Is the Alda Gather happening? When is Columbus Day weekend? Columbus Day. What is Columbus Day?
It's Christopher.
Oh, Indigenous People Day. They always misspell that.
I know. But that is cool. That is awesome.
Okay, any word for trail days in 21? I don't know. Trail days will be, I mean, I know that they're going to want to do trail days. I know that everybody wants to do trail days. So we'll see. I'd love to do trail days.
And what is trail days? Why don't you explain it just to some people that may not know trail days on the talk?
Oh, trail days is a large gathering of the hiker family. It's held in Damascus every year, the weekend after Mother's Day. So on Mother's Day, you call your mom and then plan on how to get to Damascus the following week. But basically, we all gather and we live in our tents and we get together and we eat, and then we talk about eating, and then we eat more, and then we go somewhere to eat. And then usually there's other people there that'll feed us as well, which is really cool. And they have live music, and it's a great gathering. The town itself has like 800 people, and then they see 10,000 hikers during that weekend. Mm-hmm. So it's a great time, and I highly recommend Trail Days Damascus the weekend after Mother's Day.
All right.
Don't drink moonshine at Trail Days. Yeah. There are some things you should not do at Trail Days.
I see here as well, what percent sections of the trail are the original ones blazed in the 30s? If there is.
All right, so yeah, if there is, there definitely is original trail that was blazed in the 30s. Obviously, coming down Bear Mountain, one of the cool things about the Bear Mountain reroute, not only did it take several years, I don't know how many, 7 or 8, maybe Mo is on here and he can comment to say how many years, but that reroute is back to where the original trail was. Also, the monuments, when you come across a monument, and they're the little metal, they're like a metal disc, and they have an AT symbol in them, and they're like in the rocks. A lot of those are where the original trail was. I can tell you more about things that weren't original trail, like the Roan Mountains. Were not on the original Appalachian Trail. The Grayson Highlands. The Grayson Highlands is really cool because so you come out of Damascus and then you come across a trail, and that trail is called yes, the trail has a name. So, but instead of taking that trail, Iron Mountain Trail. Instead of taking the Iron Mountain Trail, you go all the way around through the Grayson Highlands where the wild ponies are, and then way over here, and then back around, and then back to the other side of that trail. And that trail is only 2 miles. And this is about 30 because it was added. But even when you tell somebody that, like, they're not going to skip it because that's the wild ponies. Don't feed the ponies, by the way.
No, but you can.
Yeah, the Appalachian survey markers.
Yes. The Graceland Highlands, that was such an amazing part of the trail. I did love that.
This is an important one. Through hiker registration is at atcamp.org. This site generates charts showing the number of people starting at Amicaloa Falls, Harpers Ferry, and Katahdin. So you can see the days the greatest number of hikers you can spread out that and make it less crowded. Let's touch on that because so the ATC obviously this year was different than any other year, and decisions were made and things happened, and the question on should you register your through hike got a little clouded. So yes, you register your through hike, and the reason you register your through hike is because we as a hiking community, our main goal is the conservation of the trail, and if we don't register our through hike, then we don't know how many people are starting in Georgia. We don't know how many people are starting in Harpers Ferry, and we're not able to mitigate and actually protect the trail. So one of the first things that you should do if you're going to attempt any long section on the trail is go to atcamp.org and register that. And then that way that information, which is vital to protecting the trail, is maintained. So please, definitely register your hikes.
Yeah.
Okay, got Giardia, courtesy of the Grayson Highlands. Well, yeah. One of my friends said I hiked the entire Appalachian Trail without a water filter and only got Giardia twice.
Someone asked,
Okay.
how long are you staying in New York, and where do you park your bus?
My bus is in Alabama. It's retired for the winter. I only live in the bus during the summer. And I am in Harlem, New York, selling Christmas trees. Actually, I'm more like a Christmas tree security guard. I'm protecting them at night. But I will be here until Christmas Day. And that's one of those where the trail provides situations, because once the on-trail experience this year was done and I made it home, and the home was gone because it was caught on fire, I had to take all the money that I did have and spend it on buying the computers and things that I would need to create the book. But then I did that and I was like, oh God, I have nowhere to do it. Like, I have the computer, I have the stuff, and then I got a phone call and they said, hey, would you like a place to live for a month and a job? And then like at the end of the month, you'll have all this money. And I was like, okay, you had me a place to live. You did. So I went to New York. I'm on an adventure the trail provides. So I'll be here till Christmas Day. I'll be driving south. I'll stop along the trail a couple ways, but looking forward to seeing family though. So I'll probably be heading home fairly quickly after Christmas.
Someone says, Odie, can you talk about why protecting the corridor is important? I think I said that wrong.
Why protecting the corridor is important? So encroachment, honestly, would be the first word that comes to mind. The Conservancy protects the encroachment and like passes of, like, say a pipeline needs to go across the trail. The thing is that the Appalachian Trail is the entire Appalachian Mountains from Georgia to Maine. You can't not cross that. You can't cut off the East Coast from the West Coast. So there has to be some crossings. There has to be roads that go across. There has to be bike paths that cross. There has to be pipelines. There has to be electrical wires. But that has to be maintained, and it has to be organized, and it has to be as least impactful as possible. And the ATC has a panel that actually does nothing but looks at encroachment. But if we were to not have the 1,000-foot corridor, then you'd be able to log right up to the Appalachian Trail. Like, if you own that property, you would just log the entire Appalachian Trail and then and basically remove our trail. I would like to point to Mount Oglethorpe. I'm not totally sure how it happened, but basically the trail started on Mount Oglethorpe, and now Mount Oglethorpe is a community of houses. So if the trail still started in Mount Oglethorpe, it would literally start on a street in the middle of a neighborhood, and that's because of encroachment. It's a natural thing that happens. So to have that corridor and be able to protect it from losing that, we lost Mount Oglethorpe. But now that we have the National Trail System Act and things like that in place, we're able to prevent that from happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Looks like someone wants to meet you in NYC.
Oh yeah, what about? I'll try meeting you there. Who is that? How do I see? Oh well, it's gone. Moving on. Yeah, come by. I'm selling Christmas trees. It'll be fun. I'm actually in Harlem. I'm out of coffee.
So one of Matt said, one of my favorite parts of hiking was recognizing the cool stuff I'd read about beforehand or learning about the stuff in the local area. Is there a good resource to learn about local flora, fauna, landmarks, history as I go through?
Yeah, so there's been several guidebooks, and one of my favorite guidebooks as far as the history and things like that would actually be the Companion, the Alda Companion. And that one tells you the age of the shelter that you're in and some of the things and the historical stuff that you'll find along the way. But there was a state-by-state guide put out by the ATC. Oh, I can't think of the name of this, but it's not so much a guidebook as much as it is just a book about the sections of the trail. Golly, I can't think of the name. The Alda Companion Guidebook would be the one if you were going to use as a guide along the trail and wanted more history and more knowledge about the area that you're in. I recommend the Alda Companion for that reason. The Alda Companion Guidebook. But of course, Google.
Yeah. But that is really interesting because I'll say, like, when I came into even a certain town or I'm up a certain mountain, you're just like, yeah, I'm on this mountain. And, I was relying on GutHook, which was an app that you would kind of just have a
Yeah,
map.
GutHook's great.
Yeah. But there should be a awesome book about that.
Yeah. So much to learn.
Oh, ATC Data Book.
Yes, the ATC data book is also basic. It's the Alda Companion, except for it's cut down to just the data.
Okay.
It's just the water and the camping and the stuff like that. And so as far as like lightweight backpacking, all you would need would be the ATC data book.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good.
G-Man, I came to Irwin and loved it so much, I bought a house there.
Hey,
Buy your house and buy a backpack.
I hiked the trail, fell in love with Vermont, and I'm still...
There it is, the ATC Appalachian Trail guides. They're the ones that are the big state guides. But I mean they're great, but they're just so big. But I think that's what Grandma Gaywood used, if I'm not mistaken.
Here it is, Amazon.
Oh, there's a link.
Best overall guide for flora and fauna. Yeah.
Can you bring someone else into the meeting?
Sure. Who?
I wonder if Lori would say a word or not. I don't know. Lori Pottinger.
Would she like to?
Here. I don't know if she would or not. She's
here, but I just I don't want to be like, come on.
She's so knowledgeable. She serves on the ATC, and maybe not bring her on. That might be a little much, but she's given some great information in comments and stuff there. Best overall guide for the flora and the fauna on the Appalachian Trail and stuff like that. So but golly, Lori Pottinger, if you don't know her name, just know that you love her.
Yeah. I'm not even sure. I chatted with her though to see if she would like to join or not. Yeah,
we still have, there's 76 people still watching. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Like, that's really cool. I love this community.
Yeah, it's like everyone's in their own little bubble out there, but you're in this huge.
Oh, hi, Lady Di. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this community saved me. I mean, that's what Ben Mackay visioned, was the community, and that's what that's the thing that keeps us together. We're a trail made out of people. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's so important. So important.
Yeah. Is there any type of like documentary or something on the Appalachian Trail? Something that people could watch too? Yeah,
there's several. There's one that was put out by the Discovery Channel, I think. It's on, but it's funny because that one, it's like this guy gets surprised that there's ponies. He gets this huge surprise, and it's like, oh, everybody knows there's ponies. But I recommend just checking out YouTube and seeing what it's really like.
Yeah.
I don't do YouTube so much. Sorry about that. Hawk Maines, yeah, he's great to follow.
Yeah.
Dirty Sobos.
But I think
Dirty Southbounders. That's a great movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dirty Southbounders. It's a good movie.
Okay.
It's about Southbounders. Okay. Dixie, follow Dixie, yeah.
I think one thing that's so interesting is it's very hard, I think, in some ways to explain the feelings that you receive when hiking a trail like the Appalachian Trail, like being part of the community, like going home and telling this to my family. There was no words. there was no real words to be able to explain what it did for us. But all I can tell now is, like, I go for a walk and I look at any trail as home. It makes me believe that Mother Nature is, you understand it now even more of what that means. Yeah. Mother Nature, Mother Nurture. It's I don't know. It's home.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic and very necessary. I've met so many people that have stories of just heartache and pain and destruction, and you know, they're holding on literally by a line in the dirt. The Appalachian Trail just kind of gets them through, and so it's been an honor to have some of these people around me and hear some stories that just, you know, war torn, family torn. This one man, oh my God, he lost his wife and 3 children. They were in a car accident. He lost his entire family. Wow. You know, and then so he walked with the pain and for the pain, and so the trail was there, and that's like millions and millions and millions of hours of volunteer work just so that he could have that trail. Like that's what it's all about.
And I think that's something that, you know, people may think of the Appalachian Trail as, oh, you're going to hike up these mountains and you're going to make this, you know, this goal of yours. But, you know, and you look at the mountains as the challenge, you look at the distance as the challenge, but the challenge is mentally. I mean, to be able to continue to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandma Gaywood said it takes more head than heel.
I like that.
Yeah. She was a smart lady.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you ready to end this for the night?
Hey guys, yeah, we can. I'm just looking over. We answered some of the questions. It was such a.
Do you have any more?
Yeah, you know, I think we have 69 people on, but guys, we had it for about an hour and a half for our discussion. That was good, you know, and really enjoyed everything. Odie, do you have anything to kind of say before I sign off and I close?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's
do the 7 leave no trace hand signals.
Oh,
but you're gonna have to back up a little bit. Back up a little bit.
Go.
All right. You know these.
I know, but I
Number
forgot.
1. Number 1. Plan ahead and prepare.
Plan ahead and prepare.
Go do it with me. Number 2. Hike and camp on durable surfaces. Number 3 is dispose of waste properly. We're like digging like a trowel. Dispose of waste properly. Number 4, leave what you find. 4, just leave it. 5, minimize campfire impact. 6, respect wildlife. I love the dance.
I mean too.
7 is a peace sign and a wave. That's be courteous to other visitors. Thanks, Jane.
Hey, I love this. Thank you so much, Odie. This was so much fun. Again, my name is Jane. This is our Adventure Talk series. We have it every Thursday at 6 p.m. We are Hanover Adventure Tours, a new adventure center, as well as Hostel, located right on the Connecticut River. We're here to have a good time, you know, and hopefully you guys can definitely join us again. I'll be sending out a link, Living on the Bright Side. And you guys will get some info from us to donate to the Hiker Yearbook and also learn a little bit about us. We are part of the community.
Thank you for the donations. It really does mean a lot. It does. Thank you.
It does.
I'll be a good steward of the money.
Well, thank you guys again, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Awesome.